in the best and worst ways possible. Well, we are going to be starting down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map. We are on top of the red Protoss player. Put your hands together for Team NV's creator.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side for Cloud9. Yell as loud as you can for GuMiho!
I like that. I feel both of these players are also, in their own kind of respective ways, fan favorites. I feel like GuMiho won a lot of people over specifically with his gameplay and his style. I feel like Creator won a lot of people over, not just with his gameplay, but also just the way he emotes when he's winning or losing.
It's mostly when he's losing, though, right? I feel like he probably wins you over. You're like, oh, Creator.
No, you know what? He pops off too as well. You got the strong fist pumps when he wins.
Yeah, that's true. He's a very friendly guy. We just saw him walking around backstage. Actually, we were like fighting. He was like fighting, you know, both fists up. He's a really cheery lad until he starts losing, and then
then he just unlocks the inner artosis in us all. And it's like, ah! Yeah. But Creator, of course, also going to be one of those sort of Protoss hosts that we're keeping an eye on as we head into the second round of the knockout stage, because I think it's Creator, Classic, Hero, Estrella, and Hearthstone. Those are the Protoss players still in this. And, you know, this is still in the knockout stage. So they're all fighting for that spot to get into the playoffs, where I think no Protoss have quite secured the spot just yet. But Creator, I think, is actually someone that I think gets overlooked a lot in that regard in terms of a really great Protoss player that could make a deep run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of strange, right? Like, I mean, Hearthstone, you were just talking about, had an incredible series against Reynor just now. I mean, we were watching backstage as well. Reynor hung on, like being 50, 70 supply down for the longest time, but eventually Hearthstone got him. And Cyril, I was talking to him at breakfast time earlier, and he was saying like he's most worried if at anyone at all, it's the Protosses that worry him, right? So for the Protosses, a lot of the problem is going to be overcoming this sort of matchup against the very strong Terran opponents that they have to go up against, I feel like.
Yeah, now to quickly talk about these openings, as we are starting to see some shapings of them, is we did have GuMiho go for the factory before the command center, so he's going to be able to get out that really fast Cyclone, put on a little bit of poking pressure, and also just kind of cover his bases with things. But we also have Creator going for the Blink Stalker, or I assume it's going to go into Blink Stalker opening with the Twilight Council coming on out. And that's just kind of interesting because we have seen a lot of the Korean players start to go more toward the Phoenix play, I would say right before Atlanta started. And then I think during the last, like, 24 hours, we've seen more and more of the Blink plays kind of coming out.
Yeah, Blink is a lot of the time just kind of like safe and solid type style.
Whoa. I was wrong entirely though, Cats.
Yeah, but you love to see it. I mean, this is pretty sneaky already. It's a good start to the game. I was going to say Blink is a good way to kind of just set the pace, right? Because it's safe and solid and you kind of get a feel for what your opponent is doing. But this is a completely different approach where you're just going to go all out and try to make something happen early on and set a completely different kind of pace where your opponent's going to be on defense. He's going to have to be aware in the next game even as the Ursadon. Was that an Ursadon?
Yeah, and, you know, it's some poor animal that really didn't deserve it, man. I mean, when will the Cyclone hate stop?
Yeah, I'm going to have to look for it. So
You're going to look for its dead corpse and try and click on it?
No, there must be another one here.
You're going to try and find its now widowed mate?
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere.
All right, well, while Katz is looking that up, I just want to quickly note that these two Adepts have stayed at home for most of this time. I think the Cyclones have been doing a great job of preventing Creator from really getting as much scouting information as you oftentimes would get with this kind of opening that Creator went for, because the Cyclones just say, like, no, you can't safely just shade out into the map and get to my side of the map. My Cyclones will track your Adepts down, they'll kill them off. So Creator is operating a bit in the dark right now until he goes for his Dark Templar.
Yep, and there they are. They have already worked in on the other side of the map, so he will have to deal with a little bit of aggression here at the front, but he does have that shield battery. The Marines in the main obviously are not going to have stim or anything like that, so they are a threat and they're going to be annoying, but there is Dark Templar tech, so eventually he could potentially still warp in some Dark Templars.
This is awkward though. I mean, that's half of the gateways are depowered right now.
Yeah, but still, he still has one. He only needs one Dark Templar, right? Like, how many scans are available is the real question here. And for GuMiho, the answer is there's 5 energy remaining on the main. Okay, he has the scan in the natural. There's one more scan, but there's potentially 3 DTs to take care of. One is going to be on offense, right? And the other one is going to be on defense. So he has to make some decisions here. And for now, he's neglecting the main. And I think that's perfectly fine because he can still mine at the natural.
Yeah, kind of chaotic with the micro now because you can see that GuMiho wants to poke forward at the natural, but at the same time, he also has to make sure that he's microing his units back in his main base against the 1DT. Gets the scan out offensively, as you were talking about. It is a resource you have to be wary of. But a Raven is starting up during all this, and I like that specifically GuMiho is being aggressive with his army because it distracts Creator from using that DT to take out the tech lab or to slow down the potential of a Raven or something.
Yeah, I know it. And now SCVs are here. I mean, there might be another scan up soon. The Raven has to still take care of the DT in the main, presumably. Actually, the Raven's just going to completely ignore the DT in the main. Energy is being saved up in the natural as well, so nearly enough for another scan. But really, it's GuMiho wanting to try to end the game here. So the Raven is crossing the map. There's the next scan offensively yet again. And for the next set of warpins for DTs, there should be a Raven in place.
Yep. Won't have to worry nearly as much about the DT damage in theory, but that DT is going to be going ham at the natural while GuMiho is pushing on forward, even getting a little bit of supply block, but it is all about the army that's right here. The Robo now going down as well.
Yep, and Immortal is out already, so that would help a lot against the tanks. If he could get in range, there's two actually. But it's going to be very difficult to do that, especially with the Liberator at the front. This looks very, very difficult for Creator, even though the supply says otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the DT just killed so many SCVs back at home. I actually don't know if GuMiho made an intentional decision to just mine while the DT was going because he figured they were dead anyways with the SCVs, or if he just didn't notice.
Yeah, that's actually kind of wild. I thought he would have secured his natural. I thought it was a brilliant decision to give up his main, but can you actually afford to give up both bases? Right now he's saying, I'm just going to win on the army front. Creator identifies that as well, so he's starting to pull the probes right now. It's very important for him to keep his shield batteries alive. Instead, he's going to go and try to tuck himself back into the main, try to get some more reinforcements, some more warpins. And if he can do that and hold in the main, he will win this game most likely on economy. But a Stalker being caught here is not ideal to start at the main. However, of Creator, he already has 2 shield batteries. He has 4 gateways. So this looks pretty decent for a potential hold. I'm not sure that he needs to go down that ramp, though.
Yeah, I mean, he has a shield battery overcharge also available with his actual army. So use your Nexus in the natural to buy time. The DT is still alive and doing damage inside the main base. It's actually potentially going to be able to pick off a command center. Remember, that command center is burning down, so it will just end up being picked off because all of the command centers are lifted. They can't even draw down a mule.
Yeah, and it will fall.
That's actually big. There's actually no scans available, so it really is just about the Raven, but the Star.
Gotta be careful with the Raven!
That's it.
GG.
Creator taking the first game in a really hectic and combative series.
I mean, that was a little bit too wild. There was only 1 DT on the other side of the map, right? So there was initially 2. He dealt with one of them with a scan, which was brilliant. You get rid of the one in the natural, you're still mining fully in the natural, and you neglect the main. That's all good. You still have offensive potential. But then later to neglect it for as long as he did, even to not stop with the Raven to try to deal with it, cost him the game basically, right? Because that 1 DT not only finished cleaning up the main, eventually was brave enough to go to the natural and basically force GuMiho into a checkmate or a checkmate position where he had to win with his all-in because all of his SCVs were already not mining. So, yeah.
I 100% agree. I think in my mind, a lot of it probably came down to the fact that GuMiho knew that there was a full wall there at that between the main and the natural back at his own home base. So he was probably thinking, okay, well, even if the DT goes there, I probably have time. So it probably goes in the back of his mind. He's focused on microing, you know, his siege shanks, his marines, building missile turrets offensively on the other side of the map. And you kind of just forget that DT can just kill the supply depot and go to your natural.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what seemed to have happened. It's really unfortunate for him. I'm sure he's going to be regretting that decision. But yeah, what can you do? I mean, the Raven even, I mean, there was extra scans too. There was so many ways, I feel like, to deal with that 1 DT. And it ended up costing him the game. But great job from Creator. I really love the way that he recognized what his win condition was. That the DT was doing mad damage on the other side and decided to forfeit his natural very promptly, build all of his gateways and shield batteries on the high ground. And you know, like, I thought that was all great and very well handled from his end.
No, absolutely. And it was such a strange game, and that's always very fun to have as a game number 1 because you know that game number 2 theoretically should never play out that way again. So you kind of get a fresh game. It's not one of those situations where you're going into the next game and you're like, all right, are we going to get the same kind of openings and just see, like, does someone handle it better this time or mechanically? Actually, it was like, we really just get to see brand new openings probably. Yeah,
and you know what's wild is a lot of the time we're talking about GuMiho and how, like, maybe mechanically he's not always up to par or always like shining as much as other pros do consistently. And it's really like his brains, right? Like drive him forward, which is, you know, for Terran players, I think he's one of the smartest out there. But clearly, like, yeah, on this grounds, he was defeated on that front. And that's going to be a great confidence booster for Creator as well going into the next match.
Oh, absolutely. Well, players are just getting ready and getting situated before they move on to hard lead, because this is going to be one of those best of fives. And again, the winner of this is going to move on to the next round of the knockout bracket, which is just one round before that playoff stage. A lot of good money on the line and everything for both of these players. And I think for both of them, they kind of have a little bit of something to prove. I feel like GuMiho has been a player, you know, he's been able to win a GSL, he's been able to do well, but has he ever actually truly gone all the way and like won a big premier event in a like offline foreign area? Same thing kind of with Creator. He's come close, but I feel like both of them, this kind of event would be a really big stage for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of them have been around from the very beginning. It feels like Creator has been a Protoss hopeful on and off, like at the very start of Wings of Liberty, like, you know, like the very early days of StarCraft 2. He was quick to rise. He was a very young, hopeful player, and now it feels like in the last 2-3 years, he has kind of had a resurgence back to the top, to where he is a real contender again. And the same can be said for GuMiho on and off. So yeah, here they are, and they are at a good place in their careers. Let's see which one of them is going to take this this next game and potentially the series.
All right, we're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand side of the map. On top of the red Protoss player representing Team NV, we have ourselves Creator.
Bottom right-hand side, his opponent for Cloud9, it is GuMiho.
Sure, another big extra thing is also with that Cloud9 recent pickup for GuMiho. You know, there's always a little bit, I'm sure you probably know this as a team owner yourself and everything, there's always that kind of fun little dynamic of you just get picked up by your team and you're like, I really want to showcase to them that I was a worthwhile pickup, that I am really, really a good player, and that you made the right decision.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's definitely a lot of eyes on you when you join a new team and whatnot, and from your team as well, right? Like, we've seen Cloud9 shown more interest in StarCraft since picking up GuMiho, like kind of like tweeting at Blizzard for not saying anything on BlizzCon about StarCraft 2 and stuff like that. So yeah, big fan of Cloud9 for that. And yeah.
Hashtag called out. All right.
Called out.
One other kind of thing I just want to touch upon also is, again, we saw in that last game, GuMiho, he went for what I think outside of how the DTs and all that other kind of stuff ended up panning out, GuMiho did go for a pretty cool opening there where he went for the very fast factory, got the Cyclones out and shut down a lot of the vision early on that Creator could have gotten with an early Adept opening. This game, he is just going to go back into like Barracks, Reaper, get up a command center, like not going to go for the super fast factory Cyclone play that we've seen some players go for.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing too crazy. On the other side, we have an Adept being chrono boosted out and second gas being added. So pretty normal as well. The natural at a pretty good timing. And yeah, I mean, attacking command center for GuMiho as well. So everyone's being pretty safe, it feels like, in the second game.
Yeah. Already a nice pick off on that first scouting probe, and yeah, just going to escape out of there. It doesn't really want to stress too much about it, but we do have a Stargate coming on out, and this is going to be that magical other opening that you can do besides the Twilight Council, going for Blink or something. You just go for the Phoenix play. It's truly has shown that it's actually pretty gosh darn solid this event.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be pretty good against Widowmine openers and the likes. And just in general, the Phoenix is a good unit to try to get information early on. So you can just send that right away and see what happens. On the other side, the Reaper seems to be kiting that Adept like crazy. The Adept finally gets a shade to try to close the distance.
That's not easy, by the way. The range that the Reaper has, the little extra bit of range on the Adept, it's so small. It's mostly about the fact that its attack is so fast. That is a really, really tricky thing to actually micro. So kudos to GuMiho.
Yeah, kind of kudos, right? Because really he spent energy and nothing else. He didn't do any real damage to the Adept. So you know, if that cost him like a second on SCV production or something like that, it was not worth it.
If he got supply blocked, yeah. Oh, well, you know what? Doesn't matter how much damage they've done earlier because the Widowmine one-shots it. Let's go.
Yeah, that's huge, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a good shutdown on Vision until the Oracle pops out and makes its way across the map. So, but also scouting out and seeing the Widow Mine is also kind of nice, at least for Creator. He gets some information, which is a big part of the purpose of that first Adept, is to just see what am I actually up against. Do I need to make Phoenix or something? Do I send my Oracle straight across the map? Do I have to be really wary with my Oracle to make sure I don't run into Widow Mines? So, nice that Creator can at least find that out.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see. I mean, the Oracle is now about to go into the main. Are the Widow Mines in position? I don't believe that they are. There might be one. No, not really. So empty mineral line here for the Oracle to start picking off at the SCVs. There will be a little bit of a pool. Already 3 have fallen. A 4th one is not going to fall. Oracle does have to be careful. The Widow Mines should be somewhere here, but they're just not. I mean, the Widow Mines are on the other side, seemingly, about to be dropped, potentially.
Well, I think one of them already got lifted up by the Phoenix. It looks like the other 2 are going to re-burrow in over here. 5 workers, or SCVs have been killed by the Oracle, but only 3 probes die, and the Phoenix even managed to get the kill on the medevac itself, so I don't actually see how these Widow Mines escape out of here alive. Surely they die, right?
Yeah, surely, yeah. But it's still pretty cute, right? Because it forces the Phoenix to use their energy, because otherwise they cannot be caught, or likely not be caught by the other units unless they stop walking. And yeah, I mean, if they stop walking, they definitely can.
Yeah, but I mean, unless this Reaper somehow manages to pick up a couple extra worker kills, really beautiful opening here for Creator, because he gets the full scout on exactly what his opponent was up to during all this. He gets his own damage done, and he also prevents damage from his opponents. And now that means that this kind of push here from GuMiho, it's going to be against a Protoss player that hasn't quite been messed with as much. Now, the big question is, does GuMiho have too much for Creator to take out over here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sizable force right now. Creator does get a pot shot onto the tank before anything gets started, but Stim is ready, and the Marines are feeling overconfident here. One of the Phoenixes will go down. The Oracle also will be targeted down. The probes are starting to fall. 7 of them have fallen already. Are there enough reinforcements here for GuMiho to keep this going? I mean, there's already 1 Stim spent, but now the medevac is here to replenish.
I mean, this is such an awkward time for the Protoss economy when you go for these kind of Phoenix openings, because you really have a handful of Phoenix, and then you have 2 warp gates. You don't even have Blink, you don't have Charge or anything, so even those 2 gateway units that you warp in are not getting hyper value. You really need to make use of the Phoenix, and finding some pickoff reinforcements is a really good start, but you cannot afford to lose that 3rd base as Creator.
Yeah, absolutely not. On the side of GuMiho, you always have to be careful that the tank is being taken care of, so there's a little pocket of Marines that are kind of just on watch duty to make sure that that tank doesn't get picked off by the Phoenix, and everything else, it should be fine. 5 Phoenix now on the field, so GuMiho has to be a little bit careful. The tanks are going to be repositioned via medevac here to siege the gases on that potential gateway as well.
A really dangerous position for Creator. He's already kind of in a awkward spot in terms of losing the 3rd base, but even just the siege up position is really, really annoying. Picking up enough of these Marines will allow the Phoenix to eventually start threatening the siege tanks, but a couple of random straight probes on the map. I have no idea what that one's about.
Yeah, charge is almost done as well for Creator. He has been kind of pulling up a few zealots. I'm not sure about this battery overcharge and what it does right this second, but I guess it's fine. There's 3 probes that are just stranded because they didn't have anywhere else to run to.
Yeah, I guess that must have been from the 3rd or something, but Phoenix will eventually pick up all these Marines. Oh, he doesn't want to lose any of these Phoenix, and he does manage to get out of there alive with those, but man, what do you do as Creator from here? You're going for charge, but again, it's still just not 2 warp gates. He's adding on a 3rd, but even his natural still being sieged, and behind this still has a 3rd.
Yeah, but he can pick up the tanks with the Phoenix and then go with everything else, and I think he should be able to break out. I'm not sure. I mean, if he can get a couple more zealots out there, I think he might have it. There's no reinforcements from GuMiho right now. I love what he's doing with the Marines, though, putting them in the pocket to siege while still protecting the tanks by being in front of them.
No, absolutely. He's doing a great job with that. I feel like Creator needs a really big one-sided cleanup. Those Phoenix are going to be able to lift up some of the siege tanks. Last siege tank is going to get taken care of. The medevac will also get taken care of, and these charge lots are in high enough numbers to easily squash that little setup. But again, it's all coming back to at what cost at the end of the day. Creator is still going to be down so many workers.
Yeah, so yeah, at the end of the day, Creator has to wait until he has enough to dislodge that position, but now GuMiho is happily sitting on a 3rd as well, fully saturated, and that is really the problem for Creator. I mean, the Phoenix can still output a lot of value on the other side, as long as they have liftoffs available. Marauders are great targets, as they're considerably more expensive than SCVs or Marines. And yeah, I mean, getting a little bit of value here and there while establishing your 3rd, I guess, is the best thing that you can do, but definitely out of the early game, I would have to favor GuMiho a little bit.
Oh yeah, I think GuMiho's going to be feeling quite happy about how this game number 2 has been going, especially after having been down 0-1. Just continuing, and this is the beautiful thing, is GuMiho can kind of continue along a normal Terran game plan. He doesn't have to deviate or do anything super strange or throw any kind of weird curveballs. If he just continues to churn out the regular bio, add on medevacs, get his upgrades, and go for a push, in theory, GuMiho should have a W in the horizon.
Yeah. 1-1 is now done as well. Starting +2/+2 is GuMiho, so looking for the long haul as well if need be. The rocks have been broken down, so the Zealots are going to come charging in. The Phoenixes are still in plenty of numbers, so they're going to be able to pick up some Marauders, but it's not nearly enough. The Marine buffer at the bottom is a little bit too much, and now with the Shield Battery overcharge, Creator is trying to make a last stand, but GuMiho has so much, he's still kind of confident fighting around the Shield. Beautiful split as well to avoid his own fire from the friendly fire from the Widowmains.
Yeah, extra medevacs are going to show up over here, but remember those Phoenix are still doing damage in the air. One of the medevacs gets taken out, but it doesn't matter. GuMiho has a bit too much and overwhelms Creator in game number 2. Got a little, not too worried, but a little bit worried for GuMiho and his units there at the end. But I mean, he just had so big of an advantage by the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the first charge when the rocks are broken looked a little bit promising for a second there, but yeah, so as soon as the Phoenix start running out of steam and whatnot, it gets really difficult. And with those upgrades as well, GuMiho just having too clean of an early game, too good of a starting push, and it took a little bit too long and too many resources. Best honeymoon, nice.
These wonderful people came here for their honeymoon. That's dedication. That's StarCraft fashion.
Hells yeah. Love to see it.
Yeah. Well, got a little replay here from game number 2, and just you can see that setup position there from GuMiho. It's absolutely brutal. Like, obviously, you have to kill the third base to even get access to that location, but you could see at that point, you're able to continue to force Creator to respect the push, and you force him to continue to make more units. Just puts him in an awkward spot where he can't just do something really greedy. Like, sometimes maybe when you're behind in a game, you try and take a faster, like, double expansion, or you try and do faster tech up, but when there's just still siege tanks, siege up in your natural, you have to continue respecting it.
Absolutely. The next map is going to be Golden Aura here, and yeah, I mean, the players are as evenly matched as we thought they would be, so that is always exciting to see. Who do you think is going to take this next map, Ravi?
Oh, man. You know, I feel like GuMiho, he earned a lot of my respect in that last game and kind of how he handled things with just the early push out and everything. But I feel like Creator's going to strike back here. I think Creator's going to take game 3. That's my prediction.
All right, let's see if he does something a little bit more daring. I mean, GuMiho definitely showing the strong punish to the Phoenix opening as well, right? Going for those heavy numbers of Marines and that very early push. Instead of trying to do something cheeky with anything like super tech related, he just goes for a lot of Marines. Those are the hard counter to Phoenix, pretty much. And yeah, now we are here, so yeah.
All right, we're going to be starting up in the top left-hand side of the map on top of the red Protoss player. Once again, from Team NV, he is Creator.
And in the bottom right-hand side for Cloud9, it's yo boy, GuMiho.
Now, one thing in that last game that I am really curious about, especially if we end up having another Phoenix opening, is in my mind, it seemed like Creator was kind of blindsided by that attack. I know it came across the map, he was busy dealing with like the Widow Mine drops and stuff, so Phoenix are at home, but the Oracle had moved across the map. In theory, it should have been able to, if you're like really on point and you're not getting out multitask, you can pick up on all the little signs there and see like, okay, well the army's maybe not at home, or like what the army composition is. But he didn't have a shield battery or anything for that attack. He didn't have an extra like set of units that were positioned over the third base. He didn't add on any extra gateways. It really did seem like he was caught off guard by it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's just that Creator was really busy dealing with the Widow Mine drops, or something else was going on.
Yeah, I mean, the Widow Mine drops didn't do even all that well, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was just 3 probes that they killed. The medevac was taken care of. The Widow Mines were taken care of very promptly as well. So that was well handled. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that was kind of a diversion from GuMiho's side to kind of like, you know, get the real attack going behind it. So that was well done by him. And it's been one tricky game in favor of Creator and one kind of tricky game in favor of GuMiho as well.
I think that's actually a good way to put it, and it still gives me some hope that we'll get to see a maybe less tricky game somewhere in a best of 5. I feel like it's hard to be tricky every single game of a best of 5.
Yeah, but I kind of hope that they have stuff up their sleeve all the time because,
Well,
yeah, you gotta have deep pockets here.
and this is a good map for some deep pockets because Golden Aura, it's got some tricky things to the map. Not only the gold base here, but even just this little probe down to the bottom left-hand side. Maybe thinking about throwing up a proxy pylon for something.
Yeah, maybe so. The Reaper is going to go inside the main and just kind of hide for now. I kind of love that, actually. It's not going to reveal itself.
Ooh. Twilight Council coming on up. Okay, well, now the Twilight Council alongside that probe down in the bottom left-hand side does make me wonder, are we going to see another DT opening?
That was cool.
Ooh.
So the Reaper pretty much, like, it waits for a timing window where he knows the Adept would have, you know, gone out, but the second Adept wouldn't be out yet to try to make something happen. But there is a shield battery already on the on position, so unable to do too much. This Adept should be able to get the SCV, and he does right before shading out. So that is wonderful for Creator.
Yeah, not quite able to find that other Reaper that was out on the map, but I want to note 2 additional Reapers also being added on. The Hellions are also there, so this is kind of one of those fearsome forces that can cause all sorts of havoc and mayhem inside the Protoss space, especially if you just manage to get the big run by, because Protoss armies, they can kill that army of Reapers and Hellions in a straight up fight, but the Reapers and Hellions just take a little bit too long to die, and they can just kill workers instead of fighting the army, and that's where it becomes a problem. But Probe Scout actually on this little composition is going to give Creator the heads up he needs to make sure he's in position and ready to defend against it.
Very much so. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, yeah, we're already adding some buildings there at the front as well to make it a little bit more difficult for the Hellions to path forward. So that's going to help out as well. And here we go. It's going to be that attack that you were talking about. It's going to be potentially the Hellions at the front, maybe the Reapers through the back. Or they could also try to aid the Hellions since they already know that there is a shield battery in the main as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no wall-ins or anything over here for Creator from the natural, so the Hellions should have a lot of easy access into the natural. Stalker's inside the main base in kind of low numbers, so they need the shield battery to actually deal with 5 Reapers.
A lot.
5 Reapers is enough to actually go through the shield battery DPS if you're just target firing down probes, and the Hellions certainly do not care about those Stalkers that are in the main base. It's just the 2 Adepts, but they just don't kill them fast enough.
Yeah, especially not with the right target fire. There was Creator, right? Like focuses the first Hellion to go in, but then doesn't really click it through. So the Hellions do get a little bit of value, but luckily for Creator, or maybe planned for Creator not to have too many probes there at the natural. So the Hellions really struggle to get those really juicy shots. 7 probes fall all day, but that was kind of a committed attack from GuMiho as well. So at the end of the day, nothing too worrisome on either side, I think.
I think it does hurt for Creator a little bit, but you're definitely right. It is a committed attack, and it's not even necessarily just like economy or something. It's just the fact that your barracks that aren't making any Marines are making all these Reapers. You're also using your factory to make the Hellions. You're not getting up Cyclones. You're not getting up the tech lab for the siege tanks and all these other kinds of form of tech. So it definitely does delay things a little bit, but I feel like GuMiho still is probably going to be pretty happy with how things have turned out.
Yeah, I mean, 7 probes is not nothing, especially early on. Third base will go down now on the side of Creator as he gets his first observer out as well. He has added a few extra gateways and is going for a robotics bay, likely to go next into Colossus.
Yeah. Well, the Colossus on the horizon. How have you been feeling about how like the Colossus and stuff openings have been going this event?
I mean, I think it's fine, right? Like, I think Protoss in general has been struggling a little bit to get back to like the super massive amounts of disruptors and whatnot come the late game. So I kind of like a little bit of the switch up into more Colossus-based compositions. It's more consistent DPS.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of nice to see a little bit of a mix-up in the meta since the patch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Colossus have definitely been finding a lot of value this event. I think one of my fears is that for this particular way that Creator's getting there is he's going to go in the kind of more roundabout way where he didn't really get up a Stargate. He didn't really get up a lot of Phoenix or anything. So it's going to be slightly less protected Colossus. That still can absolutely work out, but just the way he's getting there does mean there's going to be other vulnerabilities that there aren't necessarily usually there.
Absolutely. Marauders are being added now on the side of GuMiho. Thermal Lance coming up as well as +1 weapons. And the Liberator here all the way in the corner just hiding, waiting for its time to strike. So, yeah, what do you think is going to happen next here, Ravi? I mean, the CC is on the way for GuMiho. There's a little bit of a move out here. How much damage are we looking for with this?
I think with GuMiho, because he has that CC already, finishing on up, he's looking to at least put a little bit of pressure on. He wants to force out some units, make sure the Creator is not just purely teching up on, you know, 2 gateways or something right now, that he's adding on everything else, that he's making sure that he's warping in more units as well. I think if he's able to pick off some key units, like if he's able to pick off a Colossus, really reduce maybe like the Stalker count or something, I think that GuMiho can probably be happy about it. But if you can keep some of these siege tanks and stuff alive, I think that's also great. Oh, a great start for GuMiho already.
Yeah, that was some beautiful shots there for him. On the other side, the Liberator was sieged to avoid F doing it. Love to see that as well. And the upgrades for Creator, they're about to kick in. A beautiful position yet again for the tanks right behind those rocks as well. And Immortals being produced right now, so Creator is kind of in a position to potentially hold this. He has shield batteries all over the place. His upgrades are just about to kick in, so you would think this is doable.
Yeah, remember that Raven, by the way, does not have Interference Matrix. That's a researched upgrade now, so it is going to be able to throw down an anti-arm missile or auto turrets, and it's going to be auto turrets in this situation as he gets pounced on. The siege tanks are sieged up. Marines and Marauders are trying to churn through these Zealots, but it does seem like Creator is kind of overpowering a lot of the bio at first while the Zealot buffer goes taken out, but the Colossus, all the key units for Protoss kind of stay alive there, and he kills off all the key units for GuMiho.
Yeah, I mean, the Immortals were very quick to be focus fired and fall there, so that was a lot of the meat and a lot of the ability for Creator to continue to punch on through the tanks and Marauders. So both players kind of choosing to disengage. I thought that Creator would be looking to take advantage of his shield battery positioning, but I don't mind him leaping in on a different opportunity here, as now GuMiho is trying to do the same by going into the main with 4 medevacs full of units, or at least a couple of medevacs full.
Oh, very vulnerable +1 armor upgrade, gonna get picked on off. I believe that's the same forge that also researched weapons, so I don't think this is a backup right now. And now the medevacs can just chill in the corner because there was no Phoenix with this opening. There's no pressure play that you can put on the medevacs.
Yeah, absolutely not. The Liberators are sieged in the other corner as Creator gets ready to take a 4th base. And now transitioning into Disruptors as well. So he has the base number of Colossus that he wants. It's going to be a couple for the time being. And now he wants the explosiveness of Disruptors to aid his army. On the other side, GuMiho is now starting to add Ghosts 3 at a time, as well as Vikings to deal with the Colossus.
Yeah, I think we already have, what, 6 Vikings out, which is more than enough, I think, in most situations to deal with both the Colossus and even just put a little bit of pressure on, say, the War Prism or something. He's going to be continue adding on a few more, which I don't need too much. Looks like Stalkers, Blink, a little bit too slow and not going to be able to catch any of those medevacs. So a nice, safe escape out there for GuMiho for now.
Yep, and now he's going to be able to consolidate on the right flank here to try to make something happen with his entire army as he pushes on through with a couple of Widowmines at the front. They are together, however, so a single Disruptor shot will deal with both of them at the same time. A single shield battery here, unable to save the Colossus, so the Vikings will get their first blood there.
Yeah, that's a battery overcharge also popped very early on. It's basically before the engagement the battery overcharge is popped, and shield battery doesn't have any energy anyways at this point. Stalkers all getting choked up behind the middle line. Kind of awkward.
Yeah, very awkward indeed. I mean, a lot of those Stalkers not able to output their DPS. The Disruptor here will get a decent shot actually towards the tail end, as now the Stalkers are trying to make something happen, but there's not very much surface area here. It's instead GuMiho that is going to be pushing in with a beautiful concave, and now with the Vikings landed and mostly just Stalkers to deal with, they're going to be able to output a great deal of damage themselves. So this 4th has to be forfeit. Creator is going to lose this 4th and now be a lot of supply behind. Game is looking beautiful for GuMiho.
Yeah, and remember, there's only really 2 Disruptors out on the map right now. All the Colossus getting sniped off means that that's all of the core key units that Creator has left. Everything else is just Stalkers and a Zealot and a Sentry. So GuMiho, he can just back off from here. He still, like you said, has those transitionary points where he has that 3rd base that's been mining healthily this whole time. The 4th base is now established, and he did the damage he needed to. He doesn't have to outstay his welcome.
Yeah, and so he very wisely will pull back. Take your advice there. And yeah, I mean, the Stalkers are trying to give chase and get whatever they can, but even the amount of Marauders that is left on the field and on retreat is plenty enough to shoot those away. And now, I mean, Creator, his only odd is basically to get massive Disruptor shots. Everything else is going to be very, very difficult on the comeback here. GuMiho knows that, so he starts securing himself with Sensor Towers.
Yep, GuMiho just getting set up, and Sensor Tower is going to be great. There's our Dark Shrine on the way, so got to make sure that you don't have a repeat of the DT damage from game number 1 in a very different situation. But GuMiho is getting into that very, very solid late game setup. A Liberator is being added on with the Liberator range upgrade even being put on. I mean, actually, the fact that we already have, what, 5 Liberators and 2 more being added on GuMiho is getting into a very scary late game army.
Yeah.
He has Ghosts, Liberators in extremely high numbers, and a solid Bio Ball with a very good economy. I mean, Creator, what do you build against this besides, I guess, Disruptors and Praying?
Yeah, Disruptors and Prey is kind of his best option right now. I don't know if there's anything else that he can do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right, you just have to get massive shots. You got to blink on top of those Liberators while the bio is getting zoned out or is already killed, hopefully. Maybe catching medevacs like this. I don't know that GuMiho needs to be doing anything too fancy here. I think a consolidated army or 2 very strong flanks would be plenty to try to close out this game. And I think we're going to see an attempt at that pretty soon here.
Yeah, well, Hallucinate Phoenix moves in and sees the Liberator count. So if Creator was going to have any reaction to it, it would have to be now. And besides Stalker Warpins, I don't really see a whole lot else. It's just going to be additional Disruptor production. I think he realizes, you know, there are answers that you can get to that kind of Liberator count or the Ghost and everything, but it requires a stronger economy than I think Creator feels like he has right now. So he's going to try and make do with what he has. And I love the idea of these flanking Disruptors. I love the attempts at this. But so far, he hasn't quite been able to find the angle, and these scans make it so difficult. But can he find it?
Oh, actually, decent shot there. So a good start for Creator now. Let's see if that is going to be enough as the bio tries to charge into the rest of the army of Creator to try to capitalize on that, but is unable to. However, a lot of shots have been spent, so there is a little bit of a cooldown here before Creator gets too many more of those. Stalker's looking for an angle to try to flank the Liberators, and they might just find it with a safe haven of those Disruptors from behind. The bio might be trapped here.
This is beautifully done by Creator. The setup of the flank from behind to take off all of these Liberators while the Disruptors cover. The rest of the army comes on forward, and GuMiho, where's the rest of his army? He still has another 60 army supply, but it's not here.
Where is it? Ayal, where is it?
Is it just in production? Is it 4 Liberators, 4 Marauders, 7 Marines, all just being made right now?
I mean, that was actually absolutely wild, right? Like, GuMiho was being so careful to advance on forward as well with those scans and whatnot. I was about to give him praise, but instead it's now Creator who is looking for a game closer right now out of nowhere with just beautiful Disruptor shots to start the last fight, and everything in production for GuMiho is not gonna cut it. Creator is looking to steal this game away from GuMiho.
Creator, absolutely phenomenal engagement there, making the best of an extremely dire-looking situation. Now pushing into the natural, and seems like he is not going to be stopped as he sets up almost 60, 70 supply. He's got to be feeling good after that one, Cats, because that was a game that seemed like it was slipping through his fingertips.
Oh yeah, Gumi Bros in shambles right now, Ravi. This is not looking bueno.
Yeah. Mouth wide open and agape in disbelief of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was completely wild.
Man, you can see it in the camera there. Creator breathing a sigh of relief there, taking his headphones off and feeling really good about that.
Yeah, taking his headphones, his glasses, say a few words to himself. High five to himself. Yeah. No one there to find it. It's okay.
Yes, I need someone to high five right now because I need someone to witness what I just did.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I mean, on the other side, you also see GuMiho, the immediate head shake, and he knows what he just went through. He knows that he had that game.
I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah. That's going to be tough. Well, he's going to have to find some way to crawl back in this because even though, you know, was able to take one of the games in the series, so he's not completely just on the verge of a 3-0 or anything, he does have to win 2 more games now in a row.
And this should have been his. I mean, what a good start. Like you were saying, 7 probes, nothing for sure. It was a little bit of an investment, but whatever. It was these follow-ups. I mean, great job from GuMiho there, Focus Fire and the Immortals, so that the army's kind of, this was kind of a wash, right, where both players are like, okay, let me disengage and you know, like kind of keep my key pieces. The tanks are taken down, the Immortals are taken down, and here's where it was starting to look very good. A good Disruptor shot there, but it was starting to look very good for GuMiho as the game was turning right here, right? Like the Vikings land, there's mostly just Stalkers. It looks amazing, but yeah, from here on out, I don't even know what the big problem was.
I really feel like there's this moment here. It's just the angle and positioning. Like you can look at that army of GuMiho. Oh. You see, it's like there should be almost 100 army supply, but that doesn't look like 100 army supply.
Especially when 2 big Disruptor shots land, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Stalker flank was brilliant as well because none of the Liberators were facing that flank, which is perfectly reasonable because there's such a tiny ramp leading up to that area. And Creator found it, right?
Yeah.
Creator found a very strong, very cool opening there.
No, I mean, incredibly well done. I really think that a lot of Pros players would have struggled against that kind of Liberator count. And I think it gets especially scary when the Liberators are able to siege up in a position where it basically denies the Disruptor actual plays there. That's where Disruptors really seem to falter against Liberators, is because normally you're attacking in from one, maybe two angles, but Creator just found the opposite
again.
angle. Look. Beautiful, beautiful posters. I love those.
Same mustache. Oh, wow. Captains. Oh, they're driving the battlecruiser.
That's incredible. Did they make the battlecruiser? Or are they just piloting it?
Battlecruiser. I'm not sure.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And who is the driver?
Surely it must be both of them, right? It's like a pilot and co-pilot?
I guess you need a bunch of people driving a battlecruiser, actually. I'm not sure.
I think we did just have one of the players step away for a quick bathroom break. So we will be getting into game number 4 as soon as the players are ready. But hope you guys are having a wonderful time here in Atlanta. Did you see? You just saw him walk past.
Yeah, we just saw him walk past, so we should be ready really soon.
I guess we are on the way to the restroom for the players.
Yeah, we are.
Well, players are getting ready, but yeah. It's been great to see a ton of you guys out there, to see you guys here live at the event. I know these NA LAN events, really get to enjoy them when we can, because, you know, in North America, we don't get the Katowices and a lot of these home story cups and stuff, but Atlanta, people really showed up for. I'm happy.
Absolutely. Last year and this year, it hasn't been the exception, especially with the you know, tomorrow coming up. I think that's going to be pretty wild here. But yeah, the crowd is always great in Atlanta.
No, absolutely. I already heard that. I think on day 1, they were already just like, we're already filling a lot of the chairs. We got to be careful about last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year it was a hazard. It was a fire hazard. Too many people.
All right. Well, we'll see if these players can accumulate enough people to carry out a W here, as I try to make a very, very awkward transition to the fact that I think the players are actually sitting back at their desk, and our next map is going to be Oceanborn, heading into game number 4. This is going to be now match point, though.
For Creator, certainly.
For Creator, yeah.
Yeah, that should be pretty scary for GuMiho. Creator also got to take the bathroom break, if anyone was wondering who is it that took the bathroom break. And you would argue GuMiho could have used, you know, a little bit of water in his face.
Yeah,
a little splash, you know?
Oh, you think that's what the... when I think of the bathroom break, I always think of it as like, you know, you empty out your worries and stresses, basically.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But I also feel like a little bit of a splash of water always helps, like just kind of wake you up if you're not feeling it, or kind of just kind of change things up a little bit, you know? Like,
yeah, refresh yourself.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. All right, guys. We're going to be jumping into game number 4 here, as this player down in the bottom right-hand side of the map is currently sitting at match point representing Team Envy. He is the Protoss player Creator.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, he needs your energy for Cloud9. He is GuMiho.
Do or die here for GuMiho, as all of these matches in the knockout bracket, and from here on out, it's all basically just a big single elimination bracket in a lot of ways. Wow. So every one of these matches is do or die for these players, and GuMiho is up against that back wall right now.
Yes, indeed. A probe rally into the natural here for Creator. Just looking around, trying to see if GuMiho's doing anything cheeky, scouting for proxies. GuMiho, of course, is not.
Yeah. Saw like that. Saw on the camera there, Creator kind of mumbling to himself or something. I like the idea of him thinking like, okay, where's your proxy? I don't believe that you're just gonna play me straight up entirely this game. We got to check around for things.
Yeah, he talks to himself quite a bit. Like probably more than any other player perhaps.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I do wish. I think it's always funny because whenever you ask players that talk to themselves during games what they say to themselves, they don't remember or know. They're like, I talk to myself? I didn't know that. Yeah. I guess it's just one of those things where, similar to how some players, like, they'll play with their like mouth open, or they'll kind of have like a weird, I don't know if you've ever noticed like a tick in yourself or something when you'll see yourself streaming, you're like, oh, I do that when I play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind right away, but I'm sure there's stuff.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you just have very good posture and look very normal.
Good posture, really?
Well, you look very relaxed and normal when you play. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's like a Showtime or something, for example. It just looks like he's more regal when he's playing. He just looks very, very ready and engaged.
For sure. What about Sal?
Well, the problem with some StarCraft streamers is that they tend to have other things that are distracting them and depressing them besides the game.
See, such as the chat.
Such as some of those up a tree Zeldas. But hey, we got a fast concussive shells coming out over here for GuMiho.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Second barracks also being added on, nice and fast. We got a factory being plopped down behind it, but this is likely going to try and be like one of these lighter Marauder pressures, because of course he has a command center behind all this. Like he didn't actually really even delay his command center very much at all. Has a factory, so he's getting up his transitions. But this is kind of annoying, especially for Creator, who I think is going to go for a probe scout. Can he actually find out the information about this?
Yeah, you would love a shield battery here if you can find this. Oh, and he's dropping one. He just dropped the shield battery, did he? Yeah, he did. So that's good.
That's actually a really big deal, because it's hard to know how much to respect this as well. And seeing how many transitionary buildings there are is really important, because otherwise you just see a Marauder or two show up at your front door and you're like, oh no, like what do I do against this? The shield battery's not quite finished up just yet, so keeping that first Stalker or two alive is really, really important.
Yeah, but great positioning on the Stalkers as well, right? They could get out of vision right away because they were right at the bottom of the ramp, so they could go right into the ramp. And that means, yeah, this is going to be mostly ineffective for GuMiho. So Creator, just preemptively, without really knowing, without really scouting, just kind of he has accounted for this sort of opening to some degree, or to the minimum degree that he can in his opening, and doesn't take too much damage or any really.
Yeah, but I also don't hate it that much for GuMiho, because again, it's about how big of an investment it is, and getting up the tech lab and getting up the Marauder custom shells, it definitely is a bit of an investment, but again, he really didn't delay a ton of his other stuff to this. He basically just made 2 Marauders and I think a Marine or something moved across the map. And for Creator, if you don't know how fast the transitions are, maybe you over-warp in a couple extra units, maybe you end up pulling like a few too many probes or lose a little bit more, or even just lose a Stalker, and suddenly you're feeling like, oh man, like my opponent really wasn't that invested in it, and I overreacted. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But I mean, Creator is still going into the Dark Shrine. That is what gave him the first game as well. Okay, moving forward and towards that Cyclone, perhaps able to take it off. Yeah, he will be able to kill it.
That's a really nice pickoff specifically for what Creator is doing, because Creator is going for not just the Dark Shrine, he's going and adding on Blink. He has a Warp Prism on the way. The Cyclone has a lot of additional value, especially when it comes to the DTs and being able to try and pick away at the Warp Prism, sniping off the DTs as they kind of like follow it around, just because they do damage quite quickly as well. So losing that Cyclone is a lot of additional defensive utility that just comes with that.
There's concussive shells, you know it as well. Gotta be really careful. You have Blink, but one of those Stalkers actually already blinked, so it will end up falling. Creator has to be pretty careful here. I mean, he is playing with fire for all effects and purposes. He does have the DTs though, so drawing this army out would be pretty good. Very good hovering over with that hallucinated Phoenix as well to know where the army of GuMiho may be. On the other side, GuMiho is looking for aggression of his own.
Ooh. Very, very tough. He's going to be losing quite a few of those Stalkers there. The Widowmine drop also comes on in. This is actually getting really hectic. Oh!
10 probes, that's massive.
Absolutely brutal, and it's understandable. You're microing your Stalkers, you're also moving your Warp Prism around, getting ready to drop the DTs off, while at the same time trying to deal with the Widowmine drop. There is so much going on right now, but DT delays the third base for a little bit. The Stalker is going to need an overcharge on that shield battery if they want to hold off against that army, but the DTs on the other side of the map are doing absolute work on the SCV line, but they do get picked off.
Yeah, I mean, 9 SCVs did fall, but they do allow themselves to be fully surrounded there, unfortunately for them. And with a little bit of Marine fire, they are able to be taken down. The third was cancelled, at least by this one DT. And I completely agree with you. I mean, with this much bio, a battery overcharge should have been forced, but GuMiho just deemed it that, you know, he didn't have the attention to spare, as there was like 3 different things going on.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you that the damage done there is nice, but the Widowmine damage was basically almost equal in terms of, actually a little bit higher in terms of the work we killed. So I think if Creator had been able to get out of there alive with the DTs and done that much damage, and it was kind of like this weird equalization, I wouldn't feel as bad about it for Creator. I feel a little bit weird about it now that Creator invested in those DTs, lost a bunch of them, also lost a bunch of the Blink Stalkers on the retreat. It's kind of a weird position now, and I think the biggest benefit there from all of that attacking from Creator is not even necessarily just the work account kill, it's third base being delayed, because now GuMiho really does want to get something done.
Yeah, absolutely, because Creator is enjoying his third base and the benefits of that for a very long time now. So GuMiho would love to equalize on those fronts, and that is why we see him moving out with his army. Undoubtedly, like Niall was pointing out too, there is a Widowmine drop as well, ready to go again into the main, as chaos is sure to ensue here.
Yeah, I mean, 4 medevacs are around, and I know the Widowmine drops are a part of those medevacs as well, but it does mean that this army has no medevacs as well. Widowmines can move on in.
Yeah, and the main as well, there should be some Widowmines being dropped as well.
I mean, great defense over there against the Widowmines, and they actually don't time out with the army pushing in either. So
kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just also the Widowmine drops, they do require attention to actually execute as well. You have to actually control your Widowmines, burrow them and everything, target fire around. So maybe GuMiho also just didn't want to take a fight while he was busy microing as well.
Yeah, for sure, but I feel like you can stim forward your army and then kind of, you know, like I guess assess your opponents. I guess with some sentries it can be a little bit tougher. Sometimes you do have to pick up back into your medevacs and avoid the force fields and stuff like that. So yeah, if there wasn't sentries, I think you could just stim your army and pay attention to Widowmines a little bit more as now the bio goes into the main.
Half the gateways just got depowered. That's 3
wild.
out of 6 gateways depowered right there.
Yep, another pylon will fall as well, but not quite yet supply blocking creator by any stretch. One of the medevacs will get taken down as well, and now GuMiho is going into the third. Beautiful force fields to start.
I really needed to delay over there with those force fields because those sentries and the zealots did not have the firepower needed to hold the line for very long. A lot more force fields being thrown down. The shield battery overcharge also putting in some serious work, keeping a stalker alive on the right-hand side, and I think that's actually going to allow Creator to hold on over here in a really awkward situation where he lost so much of his production. He was close to getting supply block for a little while, but he does manage to hold on.
Yep, and he is still floating a lot of resources. He was floating 1,000 just as I said that, but the next warping will bring it down to about 600 resources, combining the minerals and the gas. But yeah, I think all a byproduct of what you were talking about earlier, right? Which is the depowering of those gateways. So he's going to use those extra resources, Creator, to take a 4th, and I'm not sure that he should be daring enough to go out on the map.
Yeah, taking a 4th and also moving out on the map like this is a little bit scary. Force field on the ramp as he ends up going for a retreat back and maybe agrees. Maybe it is just time to mount the defenses up, and defenses aren't quite ready at that location, so Widowmine gonna burrow. Just gonna end up sacrificing a single probe or 2 to try and deal with this, and should have a reaction in the main.
Yep, and there it is. Oh, nice blink on the Stalker there to avoid the last Widowmine shot. They won't be able to do it this time around, as a probe also falls as collateral damage. The front Creator is still posted with his main army as he should back at home. And he's still lagging a little bit behind in supply, so GuMiho has taken the better end of all of these trades, I feel like.
Yeah, sentries are regathering their energy to throw down more force fields to get up that extra Guardian shield because, well, if you don't use that energy quickly, the Ghost will absolutely end up EMPing, blanketing your entire army for both the Archons, the Zealots, and even the sentries as well. But 4th base location under a lot of fire. Guardian shield gets used right before the EMP lands on a handful of those units, and it looks like he's just going to abandon the 4th base. I don't hate the decision because I think this is going to be a tough fight, but I don't know if this is going to be something he can actually live with.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. He's already 40 supply behind or so. So GuMiho really can do whatever he wants from here on out. But we saw this kind of unfold in one of the other games where, you know, you waited too long, you got to your ultimate composition, and that didn't work out. So this time around, he is adding more barracks instead. He doesn't care about Liberators. He doesn't care about the ultimate army transition. He just knows that he can snowball right here, right now.
Yep. Photon Cannon will eventually deal with the Widowmines. It means that he doesn't have to send a ton of army supply over, but he does anyways, and he may end up regretting that because as the shield battery overcharge tries to keep this army alive, Disruptors are going to have to be the unit that holds the line and make sure that this bio army cannot just pounce on that 3rd.
Disruptors were the bane of GuMiho before. I mean, you gotta be really, really careful. These are game breakers. These are the units that could bring the game back for Creator.
Yep. I do want to mention, like, the way that Creator used the Disruptors also in the previous game, and he mounted that comeback, was he was using the Disruptors from odd angles, you know, coming in from different sides. It was forcing GuMiho to kind of very much so in the moment react to the Disruptors, rather than there's one angle that you know the army is at and you're reacting to the Disruptors. It's a very different feel for the Terran.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. This time around, he's going to go straight forward into the ramp, but the scan for GuMiho is going to reveal both the Observer and the Disruptor in advance, so he has no problem dealing with that. As, yeah, he kind of sits back at home and secures his end of things. He is getting a bunker. He is getting +3, but this is kind of what killed him, I feel like, last time around, right? It's like just not the unwillingness to finish his opponent when he had an advantage. So I'm a little bit scared for GuMiho, as he did have a very strong position in this game. And if it goes later, Creator has shown that he can definitely bring it back.
I'm kind of with you to a degree, and I really do just feel like that disruptor count sitting at 8 now, like that is sort of just this magical number where you can continuously throw out disruptor shots like this, and not all of them have to hit. As long as you're kind of using them semi-sparingly and you can't just be jumped on, it becomes really scary. But now, the multi-prong aggression, this is going to be something that disruptors do not deal as well with, as we have the drop of the natural getting quite a bit done. Disruptors getting focused right down one by one. One does manage to land, but a lot of the medevacs just pick up the rest of those units. And this is where GuMiho is finally finding his mark.
Yeah, this is one of the better ways to deal with disruptors as well, is just to split your army in multiple sizes, because if you do that, if you do sectioned off armies, then the disruptors are really going to struggle to find those critical masses to land onto. And yeah, GuMiho, I mean, finding victories all over the place. The supplies are actually closer than they used to be, but economically speaking, this is fantastic news for GuMiho.
I mean, in theory, you're right. I'm looking at the supplies as well, Cats. It's so strange. I mean, he definitely lost a lot of supply in the main base of Creator. GuMiho did, I should say, just because of the fact that he went for the focus fire on the forges. He wasn't actually trading out versus a lot of the army units after he killed off all those earlier disruptors. And I think that is maybe the deceptive part of this, is that a lot of the army now for Creator, it's not disruptors and Colossus and everything else. It's a lot of Stalkers and a handful of Zealots, and then a smattering of Immortals, one Colossus, one Archon. So it's not necessarily as powerful of an army supply as there was before.
Well, GuMiho is maxed out now, so I mean, if you're gonna have a powerful army, it better be now, but he's gonna run into a couple of Stalkers. He does unload in time, and Creator wasn't really paying enough attention to continue to focus fire the medevacs. So that is good news for a GuMiho that is 50 supply ahead and looking to end the game right now. It is difficult to attack into these ramps, so maybe he should consolidate towards the lower ground fourth. But yeah, he definitely wants to be making something happen. 4 Liberators as well in production soon to try to aid him in closing out this game, as well as the what is this called? The Fusion Core?
Yeah, Fusion Core also going to be very helpful, especially when it comes to the Liberators getting that range upgrade. But once again, 4th base location going to be in danger. Disruptor hit is actually pretty gosh darn good. And Creator's going to be able to hold the line. I'm actually amazed. A lot of the time, Protoss players have a little bit more trouble actually getting big disruptor hits off when you just have like 2 or 3. But he's been able to consistently find good connections, even on lower disruptor count.
Oh my god, I mean, those were very, very good connections to start. All 3 of those disruptor shots landing. If you combine them, it's about as good of a shot as you could possibly get. I mean, that is a lot of army for GuMiho to lose on offense, and we were talking about a 50 supply difference, and it's gone.
Yeah, it's evened up at this point, Cats. I'm a little bit afraid. I want to commend Creator, by the way, on that, because the army split is so important. How do you just split up your army? We were talking about how disruptors don't deal with multi-prong harassment very well and 2 different angles of attack, because they're really powerful when there's a lot of disruptors in one place, and they can kind of cover each other and make it difficult to just focus fire them down. Creator sent his disruptors from that south side fight. As soon as the army for GuMiho retreated, he sent them to the north side. So that's why all those disruptors were ready and waiting and available to actually be used for both of the fights.
Absolutely, yeah, Creator with a masterclass in disruptor usage here, as GuMiho does hold the high ground here, so Creator has to be pretty careful trying to get some pot shots with the Stalkers to mitigate the advances of GuMiho. But he is being very careful this time around. This base should be doomed. I don't see a way that Creator can encroach on further. He should be able to take down these rocks and look for a flank. And at the same time, actually, I kind of love this. He is looking for reinforcements. He is looking for a little bit of a counter offense, and it is very difficult to breach into just even 4 disruptors.
Flank.
And now it's a massive flank. I mean, the army could be trapped here. The disruptors are all over the place. So are the Liberators, but that's not where Liberators want to be. And they will get flanked by the Blink Stalkers and taken down as well. Great moves here from Creator in the middle of the map.
Yeah, even the Guardian Shield staying alive for so long and helping protect this army with effectively another +2 armor upgrade that makes up for the forges being sniped earlier on. Stalkers blinking on forward. I think Creator senses a bit of blood in the water. Do not let the supplies deceive you, because GuMiho's supply is in production. Creator's army is here.
Again, I mean, this feels like a repeat of the previous game as well. I didn't think it was going to happen twice, but this is GuMiho potentially throwing away 2 massive leads in 2 different games in the same series. That's got to be soul-crushing for him, as now Creator continues to push on forward with an army of disruptors that he has shown he can really, really control. And wow, I mean, this is looking now decent for him, good for him even perhaps.
I think favorable for him right now. I think that GuMiho has one big army he can make, and he just is not going to have an economy to recover from. He's going to try and use these Marauders. I love this small squadrons of units and try and get quick damage done across multiple locations and shutting down a base or two, but he also needs to be able to hold the line with all these Liberators. He cannot let that natural expansion fall.
Yeah, these Liberators really haven't done too much for GuMiho. As now Creator is looking to pick one of those off, though maybe overextending with those Stalkers. He doesn't have very many Stalkers, mind you, so he still has to be pretty careful here on offense.
I don't think you even fight into that. I don't know if he knows about the top center base. I think if he did, he would be probably at least sending some units over there.
Yeah.
But go toward the bottom left base that he does know about. I think you shut down all the mining. Like, what does GuMiho have behind him anymore?
Yeah, I mean, these 5 Marauders are keeping GuMiho alive as well. They are the real heroes. They have taken down, it feels like, yeah, all of it pretty much. I mean, Creator is down to 3 bases himself.
That's true. Command Center is going to try and floating away. DT is actually being annoying, but the Warp Prism does get sniped off, as do the DTs. The final handful of SCVs, wow. I don't even know how many SCVs are left after these SCVs die.
Not very many at all, but I mean, you're Terran, so at least you have some orbital commands to try to aid you, and it's not like Creator is particularly rich either. I would be very curious to see the income graphs right now and how that has been developing. Yeah. They're pretty much back to even at nothing.
Oh, disruptor shots. I mean, a handful of them are actually hitting the mark, and now we're starting to see a few more, but there's just not enough gateway units here anymore.
Wow.
GuMiho takes the fight in the middle.
Oh, wow.
And ties up the series 2-2. I have to say, unbelievable game there, but that last little bit of movement there from Creator, I think, was the big moment. Everything suddenly backfired. His army was so spread out. That was the ideal engagement for GuMiho.
Yeah, absolutely. Bleeding a few Stalkers as well to Liberator fire, getting a little bit too greedy here and there. And GuMiho, I mean, really trying to come back with 5 Marauders, it felt like, and they did really amazing at bringing him back into the game and at controlling what Creator could have on his side of the map. So props to those 5 dudes.
No, absolutely. What a wild, wild game that we end up having over there. I mean, it's hard to even remember that it started off with the pylon that was powering half the gateways being sniped off, the disruptors all being picked off, GuMiho just seeming to be in this unbelievable position, and Creator somehow gradually mounting that comeback you were talking about. I mean,
this fight,
I think, yeah,
that was wild for Creator too.
That was an incredible fight. I really think you hit the money on what you said earlier, Cats. If GuMiho just gives Creator a little bit too long to get up to that disruptor count, I think, to me, it's the disruptor count. There is suddenly just this issue that GuMiho really struggles in taking good fights against him.
It really seems like it. I mean, maybe it is to the credit of Creator as well too, right? Like, because he does find those Liberators with the flanks and the Stalkers, and he has been really good at taking those fights kind of out in the open or flanking from behind from very narrow chokes and whatnot. I mean, he has been a little bit of a magician to counter the Liberators, which is not easy to do at all, with very small numbers of Stalkers, mind you, too. It's not like he's overcommitting to the Stalkers or anything like that, right? So, yeah, Creator is really working magic because, I mean, since the patch, right, like, when you have, like, 12 Disruptors, that does start cutting into your supply a little bit, right? Like, that is an extra 6 Stalkers that you would have otherwise been able to have in prior times.
You're absolutely right, and there's a balancing act you have to strike, and I think also different angles of how you engage can affect that a lot as well, right? Because sometimes there's an angle where maybe you want those 12 disruptors. There's a different angle, like that last one, I think, where maybe you want a few more gateway units instead.
Absolutely. Creator finding that right balance. And yeah, now we are in the final game. And in the bottom left-hand side, it is for Team NV, Creator!
And over here on the top right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Terran player from Cloud9. He is GuMiho.
Woo. Who are you rooting for?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
The fans, because the fans have been truly living up to all my expectations. I have been saying for so many years, guys, NA fans are actually the best fans out there. I'm sorry, live stream viewers listening from Europe, but North America, the fans in North America are the ones that truly show up and bring the hype.
This is very true. The USA chants.
It's just a fact.
Yeah, it is a fact.
Yeah.
Do we have any US players still left?
We still got Estrella there, and then round 3 of the knockout bracket. Cats, I'm not gonna lie, but I made a very strong petition like 4 times of like, all right, but we're gonna cover Estrella. We're gonna cover our American boy, right?
That would be great. That would be kind of needed, necessary at Atlanta. It almost feels like.
I think so. We shall see, though, because we still have to settle this round as the 2 Korean players are still duking it out right now. And only one of them is going to be able to move on, which is kind of wild because I do think both of these are players, like you were talking about this in the very beginning. They were talking about it on the desk earlier. They're players who have spiky performances. Sometimes they dip, sometimes they rise really high. And this could absolutely be the kind of event that either one of them could make a deep run in. And it's kind of crazy to think about that one of them is just simply not going to at all because they're going to be eliminated here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to add to the craziness, I mean, Raynor out, Maru out, right? Like this tournament is already giga crazy. So, yeah, Creator, GuMiho absolutely could be real-world contenders as well.
Yeah, we actually even, while we see this game start to pick up, we do have a Cyclone opening and some Adepts and stuff coming out. Twilight Council on the way as well. I do want to give some quick updates on some of the maps that are happening or the series that are happening off of the main stage. We do actually have right now, I believe, Lambo having taken a 3-1 over Shin, aka formerly known as Ragnarok. We have Hero Marine taking a 3-1 over Hero.
Beast!
Big Gabe showing up, taking out one of the big Protoss hopes. And, of course, Oliveira taking out Hearthstone 3-0.
Whoa!
After Hearthstone defeated Raynor earlier on. Absolutely wild.
Yeah, absolutely crazy results. I mean, yeah, Hero Marine taking down Hero, that is pretty.
The real hero has been determined.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And to quickly talk about this game, we did have an Adept sacrifice itself, try and get a little bit of information, managed to pick off a Marine, slow down the command center for a little bit, but Cyclone deals with things in the end, and I like that GuMiho knows that this is a very, very important game number 5. He is scouting all around with the Cyclone and the Reaper for proxies, those pesky pylon, dark shrines, and all kinds of weird shenanigans that can happen. He is not allowing things to just fall to chance right now.
Don't want none of those. But if you're a creator, I mean, you probably feel like you don't need to rely on the gimmicks that much, right? Like, because if you get into a good position in the mid game and the late game, it feels like he has had the better trades and the better end of those altercations. So, GuMiho, I mean, obviously bringing it back from a near loss, a near throw in the previous game, but I think Creator has looked like the more solid player in the later stages.
I think I definitely agree with that. And, well, we are going to have actually a pretty cool opening here because it's going to be one of my favorite openings. It's the 4-gate Blink play from Creator, where you get up the Warp Prism, you get a Blink, and you have 4 gateways. And the difference is the 4 gateways means that you are looking for damage. You do kind of need to get some damage on. It's not an all-in necessarily, but it is something that you have to find either big army pickoffs on things like siege tanks or medevacs and things like that, or picking off even some workers or whatever you can really find, picking off a tech lab, researching STEM. You have to get something done.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's GuMiho that's going to be looking to get something done himself, right? Because his setup is also very, very aggressive. So to me, this is a little bit of an information game, and we already have the Observer kind of scouting everything on the side of Creator. So if you are a Creator, do you really need to attack into this? I feel like you don't. I feel like maybe you just expect GuMiho to move out of his 3 barrack setup because you know, and he doesn't necessarily know, right? GuMiho still has to make something happen himself, and he's gonna run into potentially 4 gateways worth of stalkers that can slow them down from the get-go. So I love what Creator's doing here. He says, I made 4 gateways, so what? I'm still gonna go for a 3rd, and I'm still gonna look to absorb your potential aggression.
I think there are 2 ways you can go about this. You can either try and slow down the attack, or you wait for the attack to move out, and then you blink into their main base as soon as they do that, and you cause all sorts of havoc. Recall back home if needed, but get up maybe a shield battery or 2 back at home as well, so you can try and mount some kind of extra defenses when the attack finally does come. But for now, I mean, the Stim and Combat Shields is getting closer and closer to finishing up. The Stalkers, it looks like they are going to go for the blink into the main, and frankly, even if the attack hasn't moved out, there's not that much in the main base right now. Most of the units are outside of the natural.
Yeah, and he knows it as well, so they're being attacked, they're basically free to pick off in the main is something. The Cyclone's also exposed. They're at the 3rd potential base. A tank is already pre-sieged. They're all, be careful, Stalkers. a little bit of move command, maybe thinking that
Warp
they have
Prism?
Blink available. Got to be really careful with the Warp Prism. Instead, he's going to blink in and try to reinforce at the main. Can he actually get rid of this tank? It doesn't look likely. The Marauders are going to stand tall, and Creator has lost quite a bit.
A big commitment there from Creator. He was trying to go after that siege tank with a handful of Stalkers, but not being able to pick it off meant that he got a couple extra shots off, picked off so many of those Stalkers, and now Creator, he needed to get some damage done with that kind of attack, and he wanted to try and find something there. And when he saw that he was going to be potentially facing off against a big attack himself, you know, going from trying to do some little backstab micro is nice, but losing that many Stalkers in those kind of trades, this is not a comfortable position for Creator. I like that he has charge and additional gateways being added on. He has a third base, so he's not totally down in a terrible position just yet, but he needs to crush this little move out here from GuMiho to feel good about this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult now. I mean, he's lost 500 extra resources, that could have aided him in this process, and now he doesn't have that counterattack potential that you were mentioning earlier either. He does have a nice flank onto some of these units to try to pick off reinforcements.
Okay.
But GuMiho already has marched with the key units across the map.
Ooh.
The Stalkers are trying to do what they can, but when you stim a Marauder, it is going to be very angry and very, very likely to take you down.
GuMiho gonna have a hard time moving safely across this map now. I mean, remember, there's no medevacs or anything. SCVs can maybe repair the siege tanks, but even those SCVs are not necessarily getting a lot of time to repair them up, because we see another siege tank getting picked off. I think Creator has actually bought himself enough time here.
He may have, and he does have that third as well, so that'll be nice for him. That is actually kind of wild. GuMiho now trying to equalize by dropping the third on location and giving up on this attack for the time being. And Creator does take a little bit of a supply lead.
Oh, a little bit awkward here, because the drop gets revealed by the pylon, so that gives Creator some time to get his units in position to help react. But at the same time, Creator himself is actually getting ready to attack that third base location from two different sides. If Creator plays his cards right with this, he may be able to draw the army out of position and then pick off the SCVs building that third base, or even potentially cancel it.
Yeah, GuMiho very well situated as well on that high ground, kind of in a neutral position to defend both his natural and his third with those siege tanks. So it's not going to be easy to breach for Creator by any means. I would love to see him take a fourth or something at this point, because it doesn't look like either player is going to want to be aggressive in the near little while.
Yeah, and I think that is the downside of the emergency response that Creator went for of, let me just add on 4 more gateways and get up charge. And I'm not thinking about Robotics Bay, I'm not thinking about Immortals, he was just thinking about surviving against any kind of attack GuMiho threw at him. So that's the downside, is he didn't get his transitioning tech quite as quickly, but now you're right. Fourth base is going to make a lot more sense. Colossus, Thermal Lance, finally getting into these transitions, but this leads into an interesting game, because you were talking about the power of Creator in the later stages. A lot of its later stages with his tech specifically, not even just economy, it's like his tech would get later and Creator would mount comebacks. This is going to be a game where his tech is a little bit slower, I would say, than some of the previous games.
Yeah, but not in a terrible position, right? In some of the previous games, it felt like he wasn't in unwinnable positions. He almost made it happen. So this time around, it looks pretty decent. Already situated with his double robo, already 2 Colossus, which is what he liked for the base last time around, and then going into those Disruptors. Thermal Lance, +1 as well. GuMiho no slouch, already taking into those Ghosts. So things are looking pretty normal, I think, transitioning into these later stages. But again, I have preferred Creator's play in come this time.
Yeah, I think it's this push that I think is going to make things feel a little bit different to me, where GuMiho is going to hit this really, really wonderful timing where instead of going into 5 Disruptors or 6 or 7 Disruptors with the 2 Colossus, it's going to be 1 or 2 Disruptors being rallied forward. Especially, I mean, if GuMiho just dives on in, doesn't even wait for all of his reinforcements, he's going to be able to hit very quickly.
Yeah, that was a beautiful force field as well. And now the little bit of Celos that was waiting there forever finally gets an opening to go into the third base of GuMiho, pulling most of his army back as well.
The full pullback of his army is so massive with a handful of those Zealots. Those Zealots, they didn't get a lot of SCV kills, but they got their value in just time bought.
Yeah, absolutely. Thermal Lance will be done now as a result of that time bought. +2 is started as well. And only 1 Disruptor at a time, but I think there's 2 Robos out there, right? So
yeah, there are 2 Robos out there. Okay, yeah, I guess just making some Immortals, padding his army with some beefier units that don't quite need as long to get their damage done.
Yeah. Here we go! And so Disruptor shot is sped up! Finally, we see this map taking.
Oh my god, it's another massive one. The speed zones on Solaris playing big impacts in this game.
Yeah, that was actually massive. The speed zones actually coming into play on Solaris. You love to see that. And GuMiho, I don't know why he is still trying to push. And now the speed zones are going to help Creator maybe mitigate the distance here to try to encroach onto GuMiho's army and try to close things off. The Disruptor does get picked off before it can get rid of those Widow Mines. So GuMiho actually pushing on through. And now it's the speed zones that aid him in going into his opponent faster, but got to be really careful as there is a beautiful spread out here ready for Creator to collapse onto this army.
There is, and the Zell's coming in from behind our big, but remember, there's no splash damage left over in this army. So GuMiho, with the superior upgrades, is able to power on forward. This location is not going to be able to survive. It's an all-out abandonment of this base or Creator. His supply is dropping. Cats, is GuMiho about to do it? He's getting so close to victory here.
Yeah, and he knows it. He smells blood. I mean, the Stalkers are trying to take down a tank here and there, but now the Robos are exposed. The Bio still standing strong. There is no shield battery now as it has been depowered by the last pylon falling, and it is the Bio of GuMiho that looks to stand tall here as more and more probes fall on the side of Creator. Creator, he's pointing at his, and something happened. Pause. What happened? Something, lag.
All right.
Actual lag.
Creator is going to take a momentary pause, guys. Everyone take a beat and soak in the moment, because this could very well be a very big one. We're going to try and avoid talking about just out of professionalism. We're going to try and avoid about talking any of the production things that technically the players would not necessarily know just yet, because their headphones are off right now. But this is a fascinating spot to have a pause for lag right now, Cats.
I mean, the screen popped up. There is some sort of lag. Creator, I mean, I was looking at Creator's I went to look at Creator's camera to see the reaction, but I wasn't looking for the lag reaction. I was looking for the, oh my god, I'm crushed, I lost. And instead, I saw him like, what the hell's going on, pointing at the monitor and whatnot.
Hand raised up,
Yeah, hand raised up. So some dramas here in the final game of the most evenly matched matchup of all time. Look at him. He's sweating.
I mean, I think I would be sweating in this situation too, and we'll figure out what the ruling is if there's some kind of issue. But okay, it looks like we do have word actually from the players. It seems like, in fact, GuMiho is the winner, I am being told, and that Creator did decide that it is basically a forfeit at that point in the game. So GG gets called, and GuMiho takes the series 3-2. Let's get a round of applause.